You just gonna roll up on me like that and not say nothing? Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. I know it's been a minute. For those of you that watch my videos, been part of my channel for a long time. But I did go ahead and grab a game versus Gukesh, Dommaraju, and Wesley So. As you guys probably know, Gukesh D has qualified for the World Championship, so he's a pretty young guy for that part. But here is a game that they played. It was September 14th of 2023, and it was the Armageddon Championship, and this is the grand final, and this is round number 1. So all my people coming from the Philippines, I will say Maraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming up from India, or more specifically Tamil Nadu, I will say Nandri. If you guys are ready, man, let's take a look, see what we got for this game, son. All right, so we got the move D4, one of the best by tests. We got knight to F6. We got C4, and then we do see the move G6. And this is signifying the King's Indian defense. Personally, I mean, I played D4 and E4. I actually love seeing the King's Indian defense. It is a very, it's not as like it's easy, but I mean, it's a very comfortable game from the white side if you do know what you're doing. So we do see the move G3. We got C6, bishop to G2, and then we do see the move D5. Now, what you guys can kind of see here is kind of a hybrid between kind of like a Carol Khan, maybe a little bit of Grunfeld and some King's Indian. One of the things to note in this situation is white does have their light squared bishop on this really long diagonal. So basically one of the ideas that black has is to try to set up like a structure that's going to kind of combat that bishop. You know, bishops on diagonals can be pretty crazy. So, I mean, it's generally a good idea to try to blunt the bishop as much as possible. You know, just kind of just kill it down a little bit. We do see the move knight to F3. We got bishop to G7. We see castles by white. We got castles by black. And then we do see the move B3. Now, you kind of have two options if you're white in this position. You know, you can always, you know, go bishop to F4, like bishop to G5. If you go bishop F4, a lot of the times you'll see like a knight to H5. Also, one of the ideas in this position is black does kind of somewhat want to get an F5 in. So, I mean, you know, this is just a different way that you want to kind of get the bishop, maybe get it on the diagonal, you know, combat this bishop that's over here. So, I mean, it's just a different possibility. So, we do see pawn taking C4, pawn taking C4, and then we do see the move C5. And those of you who are familiar with D4 openings, usually when you have a D4, D5 pawn lock, you know, C4, C5 is going to come. But you also have to look at it like you see white's beautiful center right here. They have a C4 and D4, and on a great day, as Yasser would say, you might want to see an E4. So black is basically trying to combat that immediately. So we do see the move C5. We got bishop to B2. We got pawn taking D4, knight taking D4. And in this position, it's not super significant, but black kind of has to catch up a little bit because if you notice, white is a little bit further in development than black is. But Wesley So has a great solution to this, and it is queen to B6. And this is actually kind of a nice tempo game. I mean, this bishop at the moment is undefended on B2. So he's kind of coming down here and putting a little bit of pressure on some stuff. So you notice that Wesley So is noticing that he does kind of have to get rolling. So he is going to be having a lot of, pressure coming with each move that he plays. So we do see queen going to C1, have to protect that bishop. It's also holding the knight on D4. We got knight going to C6. So like I said, you do see that, you know, black is placing serious threats on the board with every single move they make. You know, because they kind of need to get their stuff out. So that's a good idea. We do see knight taking C6, and then we see pawn taking C6. And basically white and black kind of have the same structure. It's not like it's like a French exchange or anything, but, you know, basically you get a little bit, you know, damage for black, a little bit of damage for white. Nothing to write home about. We do see knight going to D2. Got to get that last piece out. We got rook over to D8, and then we do see bishop to C3, and this is the novelty of the game. I mean, it's super logical. I mean, you just really want to hold this knight down. Also, you're hoping at some point that you can start to get this queen moving. You definitely don't want to just keep it on C1, protecting a knight or a bishop. You know, you want to get some free range out of that piece. We do see bishop to G4, and this is taking advantage of the pin that is against this king, so you can't kick with like something like F3. Which you would like to do, and then maybe afterwards throw like an E4 in there. So, you know, black's moves are somewhat preventing that, but we do see queen going to A3, and we have actually reached a position. There is a really, it's almost necessary. Understanding the idea and getting out of this particular situation is a good thing for black, but there is a like overall great move that black can play in this position. If you want to pause the video and try to guess that move, go ahead and do so. Okay, so before we get any further, the one thing I did want to mention is in these types of positions, it is very usual to have like these two pawns kind of somewhat hanging. Those are definitely the points that you want to be paying attention to for either side. And if one side manages to kind of get rid of that weakness, you definitely have to make sure because the opponent can start to kind of, hit your weakness. And that's a little bit of what bishop to g4 was kind of doing. But so that is something that you want to notice. But there's a more important issue in the position if you are black. So the move that I'm actually looking for is the move a5. And I will tell you exactly why in just a second, why a5 really kind of has to get played. It's either a5 or you need to kind of make a queen movement of some kind because there's a very specific detail in the position. And so, like I said, we go queen a3. You have to be paying attention to the fact that this bishop can actually come here to a5 and you are pinning this queen down to the knight or to the rook and you are going to be losing in exchange. So that is something that you cannot overlook. But Wesley So actually does not see it. He goes knight to e8 and this allows Gukesh to actually play like a really nice combination. It is rook a to b1 and then we do see queen back to c7. That was literally the only move. And then we do see bishop to a5. Yes, we do see bishop to a5 and you are, like I said, losing the exchange. So you kind of, needed to do something. You either need to move the queen somewhere before all this happens or you need to play a5 and that kind of like nullifies the move. But it was not done. So we do see queen going to d6 and this is actually like a really nice try because you're hoping that white just kind of is like, hey man, queen takes d6 and then rook takes and then I'm out of everything, right? But Gukesh says, bro, I'm not going to go ahead and do that. I'm not going to help you. So we do see c5. And this is very much pressing the issue. You're obviously not going to take this knight on d2 with the queen because you're going to be down way too much material. So we do see queen sidestepping over to e6. We got bishop taking d8, rook taking d8, and we do see knight to f3. And like I said, I mean, we have these pawns that are kind of hanging for each side. You always have an idea that if either side takes this pawn, you should be following up with like a rook. Like if this queen does this, you would be looking at rook over here. And I mean, you're going to be getting this pawn. It's kind of like when you have these B pawns and stuff like that. So, I mean, these are similar types of ideas. We do see knight to c7, queen takes a7. So you can see that white definitely has a nice initiative going. They're getting some material. So black definitely has some work that they have to do. We got knight down to d5. We see rook up to b8. And this is absolutely what you want to do if you're white. You really want to get, you've already gotten an exchange. So this is definitely something that you want to do. Try to get rid of one of black's very strong pieces. And then you'll basically make it, you have a rook and the opponent doesn't. So there's really not anything you can do here. If you're black, you either just go into the trade or you kind of, there's just no way out of it. You're pinned to the king. So we do see rook going over to f8. We got rook taking f8 with check, bishop taking f8. And then we do actually see queen to b8. And this is actually kind of magically pinning, this bishop. So, anytime you get to pin a piece, especially to a king, which is an absolute pin, you kind of have a situation where you kind of kill the piece. It's kind of a dead piece until you get rid of the pin. So that's how pins can sometimes be annoying. We do see knight down to c3. Black desperately has to try to get some of their material back. We got rook over to e1. We do see knight taking e2 with check. The king slides over to f1. We got queen going over to f5, and this is placing a nice double attack on this knight. You really don't necessarily want to move the knight because this bishop is now going to be defending this knight. So, I mean, you're kind of in like a little bit of a pickle. We do see the move queen going to e5, and it is actually in this position that Wesley So resigns the game. Before I go into what kind of you can see maybe going a little bit further, I did want to honorable mention the computer suggestion to go king takes e2. This is so supercomputer because you're looking at it like, bro, what human in the world is going to go king takes e2? Like, I'm just going to throw my king just in the middle and like just be messed up? No. You're really actually not that messed up because the queen can always come in and defend and you're good to go. Or not the queen, like not in that situation if you go like queen to e6. But you can always move back. The queen can always come back. It's in a good position. So, I mean, you're good to go. But like I said, we do see queen to e5. And I mean, you don't really have a whole lot of great options in this position. The problem that you have most immediately is the fact that you are double attacking this knight. And you really don't have a whole lot of time to kind of, get out of dodge. with this knight. So, like I said, he does resign, but if we were to see maybe like the best possible variation, you would see bishop taking f3, you got queen taking f5, you would probably be throwing an in-between move with bishop takes g2 with check. The king takes g2, but after you see everything in the smoke clearing, you got the pawn taking, you got the rook taking, and this is just a completely lost endgame if you're black. Your structure is horribly damaged. You have a bishop versus a rook. The main issue that you have as black is that it's going to be really, really hard, almost impossible for you to block, you know, to corral this pawn. It's going to be going and scoring a touchdown pretty soon. So that is going to be that. So all my people in the Philippines, I haven't practiced Tagalog in a long time, but maraming salamat aking magkaibigan po sa nanonood ng aking mga video. Hello ulit. Masaya ako makinig muli. So I am actually doing pretty good with the Tagalog. Like, I mean, I think I've said all that stuff so many different times, man. Mabuting pagbati to you. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Anybody who is coming from India, more specifically Tamil Nadu, I will say vanakkam to you. Nandri, I really appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. Namaste to you. And I will see you guys next time.